It absolutely was about concerns around the world about how this virus was being transmitted. In Canada, the WHO, and here in BC, the recommendations for providing care to people with COVID-19 was to use a level 3 surgical mask and eye protection and droplet precautions, we call it. But there was a lot of concern, and understandably, about how it could be transmitted potentially through what we call aerosols. And so there was a very high usage for anybody who had a respiratory illness, in particular of respirators across the system. Now as well, at that time we were in influenza season, so there was a lot of people who were coming to emergency departments, who were coming to our healthcare system with respiratory illness. So the turnover was very high. And we, as you might recall, we developed a protocol based on ethical principles about scarcity of PPE and how we would manage it. And when we started to implement that protocol, we made sure that it was the appropriate things were there for people who needed them, for doing what we call aerosol generating medical procedures on people with respiratory illness, and of course for other things that we need respirators for example, people with tuberculosis. There was a whole protocol and a shift, and we needed people to become comfortable and to understand how to care for people. At that time, there was a lot of anxiety and fear in my colleagues and all of us. We were watching what was happening in places like Northern Italy, for example, and then again in Washington State, in New York. And so there was a lot of concern. I think we are in a much better place now. We have a protocol. People are more comfortable. We have experience caring for people safely with COVID-19. So those are the things that we are going to bring with us as we move into this next phase, both of the restart, but also as we go into the fall.
I think the situation is clearly better if you see the numbers. So I think the steps we've taken to ensure the proper usage of PPE, working with our healthcare workers and working with people in the system, have been effective in that regard. I think we clearly have to learn the lessons, and you're seeing that, the volume of purchases we've made and the prudence we've shown with those purchases, the assurance that people have that they've been tested, our decision to bring in equipment into British Columbia to allow us to test respirators from sources that we have not received them from before, for example. These are important steps to both build confidence in the system and ensure that we continue to be prepared. And yes, we're working with the federal government on issues around PPE. You'll know that the Prime Minister and others have expressed a strong interest in that question. I know a lot of people have locally, in terms of the need to ensure, given what happened to supply chains in this case, that we take those actions to prepare, and we're working with other jurisdictions to see that happens.
Ethan Sawyer.
I was just going to say we are at the same phase right now, and that's basically because we want to continue to be cautious as we're restarting and more people are back in the healthcare system. We will look at that as on an ongoing basis, whether we need to change that or not.